Qual é o vídeo do developer que vocês estão falando?
Getting
Esse aqui?
over it with
Não tem legenda. Vamos ver.
Bennett Foddy, one of the most hated games on the internet.
Oh God!
Ah, one of my all-time favorites. But I'm disappointed we don't have more games like this. So,
Como não? Tem literalmente 20 milhões de jogos assim.
I spent an entire year trying to make one.
Mas, mano, eu acho que o dele, eu honestamente achei esse aqui melhor do que o do Bennett Foddy, da marreta.
And this video documents the entire process I suffered through to make it. And it's available today on Steam.
Eu achei mais
Please buy
mecanicamente interessante.
Okay, big surprise. I kind of want to make a climbing game. As far as I can tell, there aren't really any actual climbing games out there except for Bennett Foddy's Flash game from 2011, which I don't understand how to play. So this seems like a good gap in the market. But how do you control both hands and feet without it getting too complicated? My first thought was to make it turn-based.
Tinha Mount Your Friends, não? Ele nunca jogou Mount Your Friends.
So you'd move your hand,
Se bem que se fosse igual Mount Your Friends, seria bem mais fácil.
then your other hand, and your feet, and so on. Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna work. But we'll give it a try. So, I started a fresh new project in Unity. Actually, I started this project in Godot, but I later had to switch to Unity. Anyways, more on that later. And after a few hours, I got something.
Ok. É, não parece ser uma gameplay muito divertida.
And let's add some physics.
É, as pernas são um problema.
This is cursed. I don't know about this. Well, it is difficult, but I can't say I'm having much fun. I think it's all just a little too confusing and clumsy feeling. Okay, let's think about this. While most other Rage games are frustrating because they're intentionally designed to be frustrating, and getting over it was sort of like learning how to ride a bike.
Bit more speed. Yep.
Frustration is just a part of learning something new,
Justo.
Oh, there we go.
which makes it fun. And then you realize that it's not hard. You just sucked at it. Okay, so maybe I just suck at these other games, and that's why I don't find them fun. Whatever. I don't know if I actually had a point with any of this. Okay, back to the game. I think we need to simplify. So let's forget about the legs and focus on the hands only. But how do you control two hands with only one mouse? With two of them, obviously.
Holy shit! Here we go!
Well, actually, it didn't work. And it seems kind of stupid to ship a game where you need two mice.
Justo.
So, after hours wasted trying different things, possibly days, I finally figured it out.
Nice. Já reconheço o jogo aí.
Okay, and here's how it works.
Óbvio que ele é
Your
careca.
mouse movement directly translate to a force being applied to each hand. The hands are connected to the body using standard Newtonian physics, and whenever you hold on to something, the direction of the force is reversed. Confused? Yep, me too. But it works.
Nice.
You can also move sideways, and it turns out you can even jump a little bit.
Mas bem pouquinho.
And with some animations layered in, it's starting to look pretty broken, actually. This can't be the right clip. What happened? Oh, that's it.
Ok. Caralho, essa foi
Wait a minute.
bonita.
Something strange. The controls feel actually really good. And as I was figuring them out, I was having fun. It's hard to describe without you playing the game yourself. It's kind of one of those things, you just have to feel it. So I guess you just have to buy the game. Okay, this is getting a bit boring. How about some rocks? Yeah, in the game though.
Começou. A clássica tática de game development que você pega a mesma pedra e você reutiliza ela 20 mil vezes, só girando ela e aumentando e diminuindo e mesclando pedra com pedra e ninguém percebe que é a mesma pedra.
Climb your way up a huge level, and you can potentially fall down all the way to the bottom. We don't actually have a bottom. Let's fix that. And there. Maybe something softer. Like, maybe water?
Nice. Divertidinho.
And you didn't think I was gonna bore you with the details of how the water works? Well, think again, mother... Okay, so here's how it works. First, we evenly distribute some points along a line, and this will be our surface. And then, if the player falls in, say around here, we can apply a force to the closest point. And then we apply the same force to the neighboring spheres, and the next ones, and so on.
E aí ele faz uma físicazinha de água. Perfeito.
Oh, and then we need some damping.
Precisa parar.
But it wouldn't look like water if we didn't have any waves. And if we run a line in between each point, it kind of looks like water.
Perfeito.
Alright, I think we need a character. So I quickly model this guy, and I think it looks pretty good. Okay, fine, I didn't make it. I found it online, and it was free, okay? I did texture it myself, though, in case that counts for anything.
Ele revelou o rosto dele! E a tanguinha? Cadê a tanguinha, pelo amor de Deus?
Well, alright, this might be a problem. So let's cover him up a little bit.
Perfeito.
Uh-oh. Okay, so now we're gonna have to deal with cloth, and cloth is pretty complicated and can end up misbehaving a lot. I've made promises in the past to never ever use cloth in video games again, but it turns out that the built-in cloth thing in Unity is actually pretty good.
Nice. Perfeito. E nunca...
That's done.
Nunca vimos a bundinha dele.
When you fall really fast and grab a rock, you just kind of snap to it like a magnet. Okay, so let's see if we can fix this.
Não faça isso, não faça isso! Não bote fricção! Não faça isso!
Well, really easy actually. I just used the friction joint that comes with Unity. Huh. And after some programming, I can now assign a friction number to each surface. And so we have some grippy rocks.
Não faça isso.
And we also have some slippy rocks.
Como usastes.
And
Nunca vou perdoar ele por isso.
I switched from using Godot to the Unity game engine. Because in Godot, I ended up having to code pretty much all the physics by myself. And I'm really stupid, so it didn't really work out that well.
Tá parecendo que tá muito bem.
Whereas in Unity, I have all these little helpful things like the friction joint and a few other things. And I kind of have a confession to make. Those prototypes I showed you earlier.
Eram todos Unity.
Well, I kind of recreated those in Unity. My actual prototypes in Godot from like a year ago. Well, they look like this.
Alright, this is the first alpha male version of this game. It's
que bom, mano, eu não acho que pixel art faria sentido para esse estilo de jogo.
Okay, moving on. So, now that we have the basics of this game laid down, time to make our level.
Ele manda, mano, um ponto, aquilo que eu tinha mencionado dos checkpoints, ele mandou bem em level design no geral, assim. A cada etapa nova tinha um novo desafio que eu sentia que estava sendo apresentado. Apesar de que eu acho que o gelo devia ter vindo antes do pulo. Porque a parte do pulo ali é um inferno e a do gelo é bem mais tranquila do que a do pulo.
So we start off with the first area of the game, which should be fairly easy, and it is. But because I know you guys are a bunch of whining babies, I'm realizing that we have a problem. See, if you make even the slightest mistake, even in a simple area like this, you're gonna fall back down all the way to the bottom, forcing you to restart. And then you're gonna rage quit. And we can't have that now, can we? There is such a thing as boiling the frog slowly. We need to make the player feel invested in the game first, and then we crank up the heat. So, we need some childproofing. By adding some of these slippery rocks, if you do fall, at least you have something to hold on to. Now, you won't be able to climb on them, but it should give you a chance to correct your mistake. So if you still manage to fall,
Mano,
it's your fault.
Eu senti que na real, se ele colocou por isso, ele acidentalmente fez um trabalho de gênio sem querer, porque eu acho que essas pedras deslizando são o que deixa um jogo mais único pra mim.
And you have only yourself to blame. So the first section is really just for the player to get used to the controls and understand how to play the game, but then eventually you'll reach this point, where you'll be forced to make your first jump. But this time, there's no childproofing. And jump.
Esse primeiro é amador. Esse primeiro é amador.
People are gonna get really mad here. It's probably a little too difficult, actually. But eventually, we probably will need some type of checkpoint in the game. The easiest option...
Mano, eu me pergunto como seria ir agora naquela primeira parte de novo.
Add certain points in the game where
Porque aquele pulo parece tão fácil agora que eu sei jogar.
if you fall down, you get teleported back up.
Não, aí acabou. Aí não
This
faz o menor
feels
sentido.
cheap and doesn't really suit the game at all. This is a rage game after all, so you should be able to lose a lot of progress. I thought about adding little hooks here and there that once you grab them, you're safe and you can quit the game without having to worry. But it still doesn't fix the fact that when you fall, most likely you'll fall all the way back down, which seems kind of unfair if you've made a good amount of progress.
Perfeito.
What if we place a body of water higher up that will serve as a safety net and a resting ground for the player, and then we continue building our level on top of that. This way we can control how far down the player will fall if they do fall.
Perfeito. Mandou bem,
I'm
mandou
pretty
bem.
proud of the solution, I will admit.
Acho que ela
I
funcionou
then
muito bem.
spent some time building the background and setting the look for the game.
Eu acho que tem alguns pontos específicos. Similar a como o Bennett Ford faz, ou alguns outros jogos fazem. Que faz você cair pro zero, mas tipo, alguns lugarzinhos muito específicos que deixam você cair até o começo. É legal também pra aumentar a tensão. Mas é muito importante ter esses checkpoints.
I then spent some time building the background and setting the look for the game. And when I say setting the look, what I really mean is using the default settings in Unity. Which apparently Bennett Foddy also did, since, well, both games look the same now. Whoops. Well, like Jonas told me, having your game compared to other similar games is actually a really good thing, since it helps people associate your work with something they're already familiar with. And when I posted the trailer for the game, Bennett himself retweeted it, and I think he liked it. So I'll take that as his seal of approval.
Please don't sue me, Bennett.
I've been experimenting with different obstacles, like moving objects and physics-based objects.
Mano, eu nunca quero na minha vida inteira jogar o mapa da comunidade desse jogo. Porque os mods desse jogo vão ser diabólicos.
Something I ended up spending a lot of time on was getting the hands to connect with the rocks. If you look closely, you'll notice how the shadows aren't connecting with the hands, and, well, it's because they're not. Well, after a lot of research and trial and error, I ended up with this solution. It looks crazy from this perspective, but from the camera, looks great. I mean, in some cases, you'll notice how the
Mano, isso aqui, pra mim, esse aqui é o suco de desenvolvimento de jogo, mano. Esse aqui é o suco de game dev. A quantidade de mentiras que existem nos videogames que você não faz a menor ideia. Isso aqui pra mim é a perfeição. As gambiarras mais insanas são as que mais funcionam, mano.
It looks crazy from this perspective, but from the camera, looks great. I mean, in some cases, you'll notice how the arms are really long in the shadow, but...
Eu não tinha nem percebido.
Nobody needs to know that, right? People are so easy to fool.
And I spent the next 6 months finishing the rest of the game.
E também você tem que considerar que a sua sombra distorcida também não é algo não é a coisa mais louca do mundo, né? Tipo, a sombra às vezes é mais esticada dependendo da fonte de luz.
Yep, 6 months. I won't bore you with the details, and I don't want to spoil the game for those of you who actually want to play it, but I'll give you a little sneak peek. So after you finish the first area, you'll enter this jungle. So it's a completely different environment, but also you'll be faced with a new challenge. So you'll have this running water, which if you grab, you'll be pushed back down. So now you'll have to be a little bit more careful about where you're placing your hands. And if you think that's bad, you're gonna love this next part. And the
Que surpreendentemente é bem fácil essa área, na real.
rest of the game consists of 7 different areas, each with their own unique challenges. And I also created some sound effects.
Perfeito.
And I kept tweaking the controls pretty much throughout the entire project. And they ended up being around 1,000 lines of code. And besides the character, I ended up making pretty much all of the assets in the entire
Legal
game
isso.
myself,
Achei que eram assets que ele tinha pego online.
which took some time.
Legal pra caralho.
Making a menu, creating the Steam page.
Ótimo vídeo esse. Adorei esse vídeo do resumo do jogo dele.
Well, that's it. 1 year.
Um ótimo vídeo, um ótimo vídeo. Merece o sucesso que o jogo... Espero que o jogo tenha tido um bom sucesso. Normalmente esse tipo de jogo não vende tanto quanto ele é popular, porque esses são jogos que as pessoas adoram assistir, ninguém tem coragem de jogar, e quando elas jogam por 5 minutos elas falam: é melhor eu voltar a assistir o CELLBIT sofrendo mais em live, que eu me divirto um pouco mais. Mas... ainda assim, espero que o jogo tenha tido um bom sucesso. Fazer um teste científico aqui. Eu vou jogar até cair. A primeira vez que eu cair, eu fecho o jogo. Alt F4, na hora. Vamos ver, vamos ver. Nossa. Parece que eu voltei no jardim de infância. Sabe quando você visita a sua escola de... Vamos ver, vamos ver. Nossa. Parece que eu voltei no jardim de infância. Sabe quando você visita a sua escola de novo depois de adulto? E as coisas parecem tão menores.
O cara botou um vídeo de speedrun aleatório do YouTube.
Aqui é água, não tem que me jogar ali. Pera, não? Oxi, não era água ali? Bom, fechei. Eu achei que eu tinha que me jogar na água, eu jurava que tinha que me jogar na água. Ok. Ok. Infelizmente eu caí no truque.